pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Okay, let's see. Roll call, Mark, please.
Mayor Steve Feldman.
Here.
Councilmember Jerry Tavai.
Here.
Joel Muehlbauer.
Here.
Robert Bauer.
Here. Okay, do I have a motion on city council minutes? Do I have a motion for that tonight to accept that? Okay, do I have a motion to accept tonight's city council meetings minutes from December 17, 2017?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a motion from Jerry Pearson, Mr. Debate. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Marks and Muehlbauer makes a second. Any discussion? For any discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. At that point, I will make an adjournment for this council at 6:01. Now we have oaths of office. I guess I'm up first. Okay.
If you raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Steve Feldman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Minnesota,
the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the state of
I just
Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge my duties as in the office of the state of Minnesota,
office of mayor
office of mayor
for the city of St. Francis,
City of St. Francis,
the county of Anoka,
County of Anoka,
the state of Minnesota,
state of Minnesota,
and to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Next up,
Repeat. I state your name.
I, Kevin Robinson,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
the state of Minnesota,
the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of city council member
the duties of the office of St. Francis City Council Member,
in the city of St. Francis,
City of St. Francis,
county of Anoka,
County of Anoka,
state of Minnesota,
the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and abilities.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I state my name.
I, Sarah Ugdig,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties of office
and faithfully discharge the duties of office
of city council member of city of St. Francis
of City Council Member of City of St. Francis
in the county of Anoka,
in the County of Anoka,
in the state of Minnesota,
in the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
well, now we have a new start. I want to take this moment here to thank Jerry Debate and Rich Squirtle for their service to our city. I think they've done a great job in caring for the city and working for our progress that we've made so far. We have a lot farther to go, and with this new council, we'll be able to help get there. So thank you. I've always said here when I got elected for the first time and the second time, it wasn't a win so much for me as it was a win for the public. This government is for you and serves you, and we don't forget that. So thank you once again for supporting us as we support you. Now moving on, we're going to continue with business.
Order.
All right, well, I guess I'll call this meeting to order at 6:05. Another roll call, please.
Mayor Steve Feldman.
Here.
Councilmembers Kevin Robinson.
Here.
Joel Muehlbauer.
Here.
Robert Bauer.
Here.
Sarah Ugdig.
Here,
All right, do I have a motion to, I want to add something to adopt the agenda tonight. I want to add in the, is this, was you want me to add on the appointments, right?
Yeah, I think we should add that on the resolution 2019-01.
Okay, so, okay, resolution, you want me to add this in there on the agenda? Do you have a motion for that then? Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's resolution 2019-01, a resolution approving the appointments for 2019?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Beamer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Barber makes a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, that's on. Okay. Now, moving on, is that now adoption of the whole agenda? Is that correct, or just that part?
That was just that part, I think.
This part? Okay. Now you have a motion for the whole agenda. Correct. Okay. Do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Mrs. Rudwick makes that motion. I'm not used to that yet. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Rudwick makes that second. Any further discussion on the agenda? Barring any further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Barr makes that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Mulbar makes a second. Any discussion? Barring any discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Meeting open to the public. Do we have anybody?
No one signed up before the meeting.
Okay. All right. Special business, MnDOT presentation. We have someone here. Great.
Mayor and Council, tonight we have Melissa Barnes with the MnDOT offices here to give us an update on the Highway 47 project.
I need to be able to turn the, should I take the microphone or is that okay?
Sure.
Is it okay for
Yeah,
me to talk over here?
No, we guys have a microphone for the people viewing that. And then can we turn the lights down? So we can see this better.
Working? Thank you, Mayor, council members, everyone. My name is Melissa Barnes. I'm with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and I'm the North Area Engineer, which is the engineer who works in this area that we have. So I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about what has happened on Highway 47 in St. Francis, what we're doing right now, and what's going to happen. So first, we have been talking with the city and city staff about doing a corridor study in the 4-lane section of St. Francis. And we started that conversation this past spring. The things we've heard from that conversation, basically Highway 47 in this area serves as a passing zone. It's 2 lanes coming up to St. Francis, it's 2 lanes leaving St. Francis, and everybody wants to pass. So that means people go fast, they're not paying attention, and it's a city. It's not necessarily appropriate for what's going on here. There are students crossing the road, there are people who need to get across the street. It's not working for the context of St. Francis. So since the crash has happened, we have done some additional things. We put in electronic boards with safety messaging. Those were installed on December 11th. And if you can barely read them up there, but if you were really paying attention, we didn't even have them installed right. So we fixed that very quickly. We lowered the school speed limit. We moved a 15-mile-per-hour section north of Ambassador. So if you were really paying attention, you'd notice that too. And then we increased some of the sign sizes so that they would be more legible. Like the school speed limit sign, we replaced some other signs so that people could see them better and they were more conspicuous. There was an increased enforcement event on December 21st. And that involved State Patrol and the local police department. MnDOT's provided educational reflective materials to enforcement and community members for distribution. So that included safety and educational information like the card you see down there, as well as reflective tape to put on yourself to make yourself more reflective. And we set up a website. We encourage you to go there and sign up. It's how we're going to communicate with the public about what's going on. It's the best place for people to be signed up. Project updates will come through there. Anything we're doing will come through that website. You can sign up on an email address on the sidebar. So that's what we have done so far. But we know that we need to do more. And one of the first things we've done is something called a Towards Zero Death meeting. Minnesota Department of Transportation uses Towards Zero Death because we believe that no deaths are acceptable on our roadways. So we are always trying to move towards zero. Towards Zero Death uses enforcement, engineering, education. Basically, they want to bring everybody together so we can coordinate and talk about what's going on, because together we are much stronger, and it really takes a holistic approach to anything that we do in order to make a change. We can't just focus on one aspect, but we have to all come together to do it. So that meeting is set up for later this month. And then the school is also exploring applying for a Safe Roads to School Fannie grant. That will help get the school kind of a little bit more organized about how people walk to school, how people bike to school, and really bring them into, it will even help with the TZV types of things. So in February of 2019, we're going to launch an educational marketing campaign for people who live in Travel and St. Francis. So you'll probably see some types of marketing materials like that out and around. And we're also asking for help. If people are parts of community groups or anything else and they want to hand things out, we have materials we can provide. So please go to the website. My contact information is on there. I have a card. Contact Joe. He knows me too. He can get you my information so that we can get you that material. And then we're also looking at installing something called Your Speed Is signs. They're speed feedback signs, so it's shown in the bottom right there. They're kind of the electronic signs that they show the speed, and the next one, they show you how fast you're going. And one of the other things we'd like to present for the City Council's approval tonight is installing a temporary signal at the intersection of Pedersen Drive. We want to stress the fact that it's temporary. We believe it only provides a very incremental benefit over what's out there today. And actually, it could increase crashes, like rear-end crashes, but we do believe it provides an incremental benefit for safety of people walking. We would still need additional enforcement. We still need school support because the school is going to be an integral player. We've heard that they're out doing crossing guards on a 50-mile-per-hour road. That might still be necessary, but definitely should be looked at through the Safe Roads to School process. We would like to, we're going to look at doing some other things. We've heard that when children are present under the school speed limit sign is kind of confusing and difficult to enforce. We want to install something more like when flashing, so we're looking into that. And then with the intersection, traffic signal intersection, it would have additional lighting involved with that as well, which we think would help. And the signal is definitely, like I said, temporary, and I will discuss on the next slide, pending the study results and future construction. Do you have any comments, questions about that? I can wait too. So, as I said, with the signal being a temporary countermeasure that we don't believe is the ultimate solution, we want to undertake a planning study for the 4-lane section of Highway 47. We would lead the corridor study. We would involve the community. It would involve quite a bit of public involvement. We would be coming to the community, showing them different alternatives, asking them what their problems are. We've heard a few things, but we don't know that we've heard everything. So we want to make sure we come out, we talk to people, understand the problem, do some traffic analysis, and really move on to finding an alternative. This study will also include going through to design. Previously, we had talked about construction in 2025 when I said we've been talking since the spring. Now we're going to advance that to 2021. That's our hope. It might be phased. We know that Pedersen Drive is definitely a concern, so maybe that's something we do first. But in order to do that, we need to know what we're going to do along the entirety of the corridor. If we do something at Pedersen, we may not be able to. We may lock ourselves into a solution. So we want to make sure we understand the entire corridor. We want to fix the city and make the road more appropriate for where you guys live. And normally our process takes 5 years to complete, so we have really accelerated this so that we can get this done more quickly because we appreciate that safety is very, very important. And that's it. I'm willing to take questions.
All right, well, let me just add, I've had multiple conversations with Melissa. I've never met you before, and I've got a face to the name, so that's very good, and I'll continue conversations with her. I also want to point out to the public online, there's viewing in, and the public is present. The website that you mentioned is on our website too, so if you go to the City of St. Francis website, hold your cursor on our community, you'll have a window come up, and in the lower left corner is a link to that site. And that will keep you up to date with what MnDOT's doing, and I want to applaud MnDOT that you're boosting that time frame up, which I think is a good idea. But I can't emphasize enough, I will emphasize this as Melissa did, public input is going to be the key to this. Their solution is going to be the whole corridor, not part of it. So just to fix one end of it, I've always said in my thoughts is that, you know, something done at Pedersen is a priority 1, but that doesn't mean it's a solution to the whole corridor. Something now is going to be done here. Hopefully these 2 children that got in that accident will come out unscathed in the long run, and from them this whole thing will come about in a positive end result. So I want to thank you, Melissa. Again, I've had multiple conversations, and I'm sure I'll be at those meetings, and I'll see you there. But it's nice to have a face to the name. So thank you. And like I say, with the public, if you have any questions on that, please feel free to call us. And again, MnDOT is open, but all the information is there accessible to you once you get on the website. So just hold your cursor on our community. The window comes up, lower left corner. You'll see the link to it, and you go from there. I'll keep you up to date. Any questions from anyone in the council for Melissa? Kevin, I'll start with you.
I guess, is there a plan after the input and whatnot? Do we have a schedule that Melissa would be involved with our council again, or come and meet in public discussion about this, or updates in between now and say April? Anything?
Melissa, what do you say?
Yeah, I can definitely come and update you again. And I think as the project progresses, we should come for regular meetings to inform the council what's going on.
And I also know that our city administrator will be there. I'll be there. I know our community development director will be there, our chief of police. So we'll be all involved as this process goes through. So, Joe, you have any comment?
My question, well, one, thank you again. My question was just when you mentioned the public involvement, and I was kind of curious how you plan on communicating just with Joe, that you're in touch with us kind of thing, so then we can get our community groups involved as well. Just to try to get the community to show up and participate.
So that, I mean, Joe, that's somewhat up to you. We're willing to, if there's an email list, we can definitely email the council. We will come to meetings. We will definitely be telling people when things are going, and I don't know how, if there's a normal way, Joe, that you distribute information, maybe that's the proper channel.
So potentially putting the minutes from the Towards Zero Death meeting or something like that out in the council week memo or something like that.
Well, I think definitely communication is a positive here because we don't want the social media distorting what's going on. You know, and jumping the gun here and making claims that aren't done here, that we didn't do this and do that right and all this. This is going to be a long-term process. The whole bottom line, in my opinion, is, and I'm sure the council would agree, we need to do this right. This has to be done right. It's time. The talking has to stop and the action has to start. We have to do this right. Whatever the end result will be in 2021 or whatever it may be, we have to look at that road and say we did a great job. We saved lives by doing what we did here. So it's worth taking the time. And like I say again, I just don't want social media, who's distorted other things for us in the past, to allow that to happen. So please help us to help yourselves. That's what it all comes down to, working together. So Rob, you have anything to say?
I just want to make sure that I know Pedersen is key, but being on the fire department for many years, there's been T-bone accidents at every one of those crossings through our city. And that's my goal, is to get that whole piece looked at and, you know, prevent another tragedy.
Now, I also want to mention to you that through one of my conversations with Melissa was Melissa's idea to have a joint study. If you recall, last summer we talked about a joint study because of development you saw, as MnDOT saw in the area. We talked about that coming up. So since Melissa's come on board, things have changed in the way that you're more broadly looking at the situation. But it was you who brought up to me about, you saw that MnDOT was seeing development in the area as we progressed in the city, and that you thought a new study should be done for that corridor anyway. So they actually may have accelerated it, but it was in motion.
It might have been me, but yes.
It was you. I may forget some things, but I did not forget that. But it was you. Sarah, do you have anything to say?
I just want to, I'm having to work with the school. Are you presenting the school board and stuff? You'll be giving them this same information so that we're consistent throughout the city and the school board?
Correct, yep, we are meeting with the school this week, and we will be talking with the school throughout the process. We also plan on involving the school a little bit more closely, especially when we start to talk about outreach. We think that the students who walk there will probably have a lot to say about what they see on the road and what the issues and benefits and problems are. So we'll definitely be using the school as something to outreach to. Yeah, thank you.
And just to allude to what Mr. Bauer said, we have a quick trip coming on corner 233rd and 47, that's coming up. And I know for myself, when I'm coming to meetings here, crossing Ambassador and 47, if you're looking left and then you go right and it's cleared, you better look left again. So that's, again, the long-term solution. There's a corridor that is not just one intersection, it's multiple intersections. And so, whatever change we need to do here needs to be done in a broader picture. And so these temporaries, people have to understand these are just the word, as Melissa emphasized twice, it's temporary, not permanent. The end result will be what public input comes into it, what it comes down to the investigation, your procedures and policies that you follow and all that. Hopefully it won't come, my only thing of thinking about it's not, the money cannot be the major factor. It has to be what's done right or save lives. That's the key.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So are they going to is the study going all the way from Pedersen up to Ambassador here as well? Because I know somebody died on the corner right out here.
Yeah. No, the study will be up throughout the city of St. Francis, so it'll go from Ambassador down to Cree Street.
Okay. Thank you.
And I want to commend that as far as taking that 50-mile speed to outside the city limits. So that was a good idea. I think you've done some good stopgap now, but once again, it's just a stopgap. So,
right.
So, any other questions by council? I want to thank you again. Let's hope this will work out in the long run for all safety that we want. We need the city and health of our citizens and residents.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need a motion for this light then tonight? Do you need something from us to approve something tonight, you said?
We can help administratively for now, or maybe we can bring it back in the future.
If we need something, we will bring it back in the future, and right now we're working on this. But if you are comfortable with some resource, we will continue on the path, and this is our thing.
All right, we just don't want to be the holdup for you, so thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I interrupt the question?
Yes, please.
Lynn Siebert, I actually have a question for Chief Schweiger. Is that how it's pronounced, Schweiger?
Yes.
Thank you. In Melissa's presentation, she indicated that there was an increased enforcement along the route, along the corridor, specifically within the school zone. Are there plans within the force to continue those increased enforcements?
Yes, we basically schedule officers when they're basically our SROs, our school resource officers, before and after school. When they're available, when they're not in the school, they do have some extra time to get out there and enforce Highway 47. So we do put them out there periodically. We do move them around to different locations, but it definitely is one of our prime locations that we try to do extra enforcement.
And is that enforcement within that school zone, not just before and after school, but before and after school programs?
When they're available, after 4:30, our school resource officers go home, and we're down to 1 or 2 patrol officers. So we do try to shuffle them around as calls allow, and we do the best we can in getting enforcement out there. But yeah, definitely, primary focus isn't just during school. It's obviously that tragic accident that happened was after school hours, so that was at 6 o'clock at night. So we're well aware of that. We're well aware of the traffic volume that goes through there on a regular basis, and we try to get officers through there as
Well, I'd like to publicly thank you and your officers for doing that for us. It's appreciated.
Yeah, I think you've already seen them out there now since this all happened, so that's a good thing. Very good. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right, so we don't need to make any motion or anything like that. This is in motion already, so okay, fine. And again, Melissa, you tell us what you need as far as any motions or approvals you need from the council, and we're here, okay?
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to second public hearing. Do we have a?
We just had it.
We just had it, right? That way, okay. All right, all right, I'm talking about meeting of the public. All right, we're fine on that. We'll get used to that. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, let's see. Moving on to new business. How about code enforcement requested extensions? That's what.
Mayor and council, before you tonight is a request from community development in regards to 2 properties. Typical procedure, we send out an administrative notice. The properties have the ability to request an extension. If we give the full 20 days plus the extension, the homeowner, property owner can have up to 50 days. We have 2 situations where the property owners have come to us requesting more time, and staff agrees that their situation is such that 50 days is probably not adequate for them to meet what we're asking them to do. So within the packet, I have properties 1, which is multiple vehicles. We're just asking that they have until August 1st in order to get the property under control and in compliance with removal of those vehicles. The second property is a bit of a different situation, as they have not only excessive structures, but they have excessive belongings around and down the driveway in this property. It is quite extensive as well. They have requested up to 3 months to address the personal belongings, and they're requesting until June to address the multiple structures. This would allow them time to either remove it or request and get approval of a variance through the process in which the city requires if they want to go outside of what is required through code. So I would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, let me just bring up these 2 entities are working with you now. What you told me, these 2 properties, rather.
Correct. Both of these property owners have been into City Hall and are working quite well with staff.
Okay. So the first property, they want a variance until August, and the second property wants a variance until June.
Mayor and the council, it would be an extension. I don't want to use
Okay.
the word variance,
Okay,
but
extension.
yes,
Okay.
they were, yep, correct.
I looked at it, I had a conversation with you earlier today, so I just want to go on record to say that I am for the extensions, one-time extensions. Now, I believe that an extension now gives it 7 months on the first property, gives it another 5 months on the second property. That's enough to be able to handle their problems. After that, I know you will start finding if that's where it goes from there, but I don't feel we should, I don't want to see this come back to us in 7 months, 5 months and 7 months, and then ask for another extension on top of that. They know there's a problem, they're working with you, and I'm glad about that, and I'm willing to give an extension or a fee for it, but I just don't want it to come back and extend, and never get anything done. The amount of cars on that property is ridiculous, in my opinion. The trash in that house, my concern if there's children living in that house, that I just don't understand that at all, but my point being is, we want a solution and we're willing to work with them, so the fines will stop while they're trying to do this, what you told me, but the fines will pick up if they don't accomplish the limit.
Correct. Mayor and council, we've talked to them about progress throughout this extension as well, so we're hoping we don't see them sit on it until the last moment. If we're able to see that progress throughout, and by the time we get to these deadlines, we should see what we're requesting.
All right, on that, I'll pass it down to the council here, Mr. Miller, anything you want to say, Joe?
I think it's pretty straightforward, and appreciate you doing your job, working with the community as far as the fact that they came in and asked for extensions, did everything on their part that they should have done to begin with. I think that's a good thing and a good way to go about it.
Kevin?
Yes, Kate, when were the complaints initiated on property 1 and 2, and then how fast did those residents come to you and say, hey, I got my letter and this is what I want to do about it? And then thirdly, how will the complainant, and I know it's an anonymous situation, and or neighborhood or neighbors know that the city is on it and that the participants are participating, as it were?
Mayor and council, so I know the second property we got a call beginning of November. They came in with the administrative notice, so they were in within the first 2 weeks. That one I don't know if we have a phone number. So when a complaint comes in, depending on how they've taken that information, sometimes we'll have a contact to call back. So
Right.
if we do have the complainant left a number or some type of email, we can go back to them and say we're working on it. Again, with the first property, that situation was a little different, as they had a larger property issue that was addressed first. So we were working with them in regards to some demolition of a building prior to this. So we've actually been working with that property for 2-3 months. It's been quite a time already before we started the code enforcement, trying to get since they have multiple situations, we wanted to get the first piece taken care of, and then we're starting to work on the second. That one, I'm not sure if we have a contact for that one, as that one was brought in due to the first situation, but hopefully the neighbors on both of them will start to see that incremental progress as we go in the next couple months.
All right. Well, thank you. Again, I commend the people, anyone involved in this situation. They're acting rather than just not doing anything. And then the neighbors, hopefully, short of our broadcaster, they know that the city is doing something and that their neighbors, whoever might be involved, again, are making an effort. So thank you.
All right, Ron, you got anything to say?
I agree with Kevin on this. The first property up to August to me is a little long, because if they don't clean it up, then we start finding them, then we push into the winter again, and then they come back to us and say, hey, we're gonna clean it up, but can we get an extension again? So I don't really like the August, but it's not for me to say, exactly when the date to have that cleaned up, because if I was a neighbor, I would want to wait 7 months to have this property cleaned up. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm okay with the June time frame. That way their summer is not obstructed on either one of the residents' neighbors for so long, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I would add to that, as I had a discussion with you earlier, there's a pole barn reconstruction that's going to go on that first site, the first property. And because of the weather in winter, and we don't know how winter is going to go on, we want to give them ample time. As going through that abatement process, we always agreed, you brought up rather, about time frames and stuff like that. So we want to be flexible here where we can be, but we want to get this solved. But my whole point is right now, they are working with us. If they weren't working with us, I'd say to myself, we could be harder, but I like to be harder only when we have to be and go in stages and that. And to me right now, what I see is 2 properties working with us once again. They want to reconstruct that pole barn, which will help them a lot. And they know there's a deadline. That's why I say, if anything, we need to emphasize to them that this is a one-time extension, one-time only. And that after that, whatever the marbles, whichever way the wind blows after that is up to them, not up to us. I hope that.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
Mayor, Council, with that one, we could try to do some intermediate or mid-level inspection to see that there is progress, and if we don't have some ground being covered by, say, April or May, that, maybe we put 2 deadlines on that one, so we don't get into that situation.
Well, how about if council leaves it up to community development on that? Okay, we'll go by your judgment on that one. Okay. So,
That was going to be my comment, was just that let's put some benchmarks out there so that we're continually monitoring it, so that as long as we're seeing gradual improvements, I mean, with the snow now and everything, getting those cars out might be a little difficult.
right.
And even cleaning up the garbage in that 1 yard might be difficult, so, but there are things that they can be steadily doing along the way that we can see.
Right, and if they reconstruct that pole barn, that's going to help out a lot. They won't get rid of all the vehicles, but it'll make a good start. So like I say again, when parties we've always said all along in all our code compliance issues, as long as people are working with us, we have no problem. We're not out to, we don't make money off finding people. We make money off of promoting the city and growing the city. That's how we make money here. So finding is not our way of generating revenue here. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to go through abatements. I know this council, past council, this council here, there's some members that went through this last process, which was more than I want to handle again for quite a long time. But anyway, hopefully, like I said, we'll leave it to community development as far as your schedule on that. Keep an eye on them, and we'll hopefully get this done. Any other discussion by council on this? Then I would ask for a motion for code enforcement requested extensions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Robinson makes a second. Any further discussion? Barring any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Okay. Now moving on to the wastewater agreement, the Ponce Development in Oak Grove.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, in front of you, I did provide a fresh, clean, updated version. There's a lot of formatting. I realize I'm probably not the best word formatting person out there, but we made some formatting changes. And then we deleted just some redundant provisions in there that were already covered in the agreement. So the nature of the new agreement in front of you should not be any different than the one that was sent out Thursday evening. It calls for same rates, Oak Grove residents pay the same rates as St. Francis residents, a $100,000 connection fee to the city of St. Francis, and then there's provisions in the agreement to have a surcharge if they have too high of nutrients, let's just call them, then there's a small surcharge to pay over per pound, or if they go over what they're saying their wastewater is in their facility report, there's a small surcharge because our facility can process X amount of wastewater, and so we're counting on, why coming to us from ponds development, and if it's way over and above that, then we have to have some protection for the city of St. Francis. So I guess what we're looking for here tonight is a motion to approve this particular agreement and send it to Oak Grove for their review and comment, and then keep the process going with the city of Oak Grove.
All right, is that it? Yep. Okay, first of all, I want to thank Joe Cohen, our city administrator, our public works director, Paul Teicher, our attorney, Dave Shaps, working on this as you have. I mean, it's been a long process working with Oak Grove. I think we've done all that we can do here. It's now going to be up to Oak Grove, their council. I want to reiterate here the highlights that I look at right now. It's a one-time connection charge of $100,000. They will pay the same base and usage rates that offered to our residents. In the unlikely instance the wastewater strength increases from Oak Grove, that would basically create like a hot load. That would create damage to our system. There would be a surcharge added to it. So not that that would happen. I know they wouldn't try to make that happen, but it could happen. We just need that in there to protect ourselves. So if there's a correction, we can get it corrected. It's no different than a septic hauler dropping something into our system, the same thing. Any future connections we'll pay to St. Francis at the full charge. We gave a rate break to this proposal to them, but any new connections will be at a full rate. And this is a 20-year agreement. Again, I want to thank you for going far and beyond what I thought we should have done. I want Oak Grove to connect with us. I also want to emphasize that the work they did here, it was just not solely for Oak Grove. It will work for now and then, Bethel. As our whole idea with this plant is to regionalize this, either locally or through the Met Council down the road, as we've had tours with them already, and the discussion with them for down the road as they do their conference every 10 years. So our goal has always, all along, been to get those rates reduced. That is our goal. We've done a 20% reduction this summer, and we will continue doing that in that direction. So would I like to see Oak Grove connect to us? Yes, I would. But we cannot do any more to make that happen, and it's now up to their council. We have some members here tonight from their council. Hopefully they'll bring that forward and see that this is a good deal for both sides here. But once again, this work that's been done here was done in the mindset that any other city that wants to join us will be following the same guidelines. This isn't just for Oak Grove, it's for any city that connects to us. And we hope to have other cities. Our plant is big. It was built larger than I think it should have been at the time. So we need to fill it up, and a way to do that is promote our growth, which we are, and by having other cities hook to us in regionalization. It's a perfect example would be, as I mentioned before in other meetings, the Met Council started out years and years ago with about 45 plants. They're now down to 8, and they're going to be building a new one in Rogers, the 9th plant coming up. So they've done reduced from 44 to 9 regionalization. They handle over 250 million gallons of waste every day. And they are down to just, the regionalization has dropped their cost down. In fact, the Met Council, hats off to them in the regard that all I've read about them, they have one of the lowest rates of processing in the whole United States by regionalization. That is the key to our plant, by regionalization here. So I'm hoping that Oak Grove sees the light here, signs on, and will start a momentum for us to have other cities hook to us, and we'll get those rates further down, which is our goal. So I want to thank everybody who had a work in this. I know council before and council now will continue on this, but everything takes time. And I just hope the public understands that nothing happens overnight in government. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So it takes time. Be patient, we will have it. So once again, need a motion to adopt this or send this along. Right?
Yeah, a motion to authorize staff sending it to the city of Oak Grove
Okay, so do I have a motion tonight to wastewater agreement, the ponds development in Oak Grove?
Any discussion here?
Or you want to discuss? Oh, sorry, let's have some discussion.
If I have a question, Oak Grove, did they have any previous correspondence that helped craft this agreement or show some of their needs? And then is the biosolids discussion separate from this agreement entirely? Is that something different or an incentive at all for Oak Grove to come aboard as well?
Oak Grove did not have any input on this. They told us to come up with a draft. We started to, we based it on their facility plan that was done.
All right.
As far as the biosolids, I don't know how much that was incorporated into crafting this. As far as, is that for processing, for how to dispose of their biosolids? I don't know that that was addressed in here. That would have to be probably separate, I would imagine.
Okay.
And just to emphasize here also, this does not include Westlake George for biosolids. This is only the ponds.
So it is in draft form, but we will put a legal description of the pond's development. So that
But just so they know, because I've already talked to Mike Wiley over there, that was only because Westlake George is going to be a biosolid disposal that they used to do in Cambridge, are no longer being able to do that. That I understand. If I'm correct, Weston, I think I'm correct on that. Okay. From what I understand from Mike Wiley, it was their biosolids used to go to Cambridge. They're not, or I think it was Cambridge, I believe, or Long Lake or whatever, but it was Cambridge. And they're not doing that any longer, so we would be the natural place for them to do it, but that is beyond this. Okay, and as you recall at the work sessions that we had, this is what they wanted for them to come back with their concerns.
Correct.
So this is not a done deal. They have to come back with their concerns. We'll have to see if they can work out between two cities and then go from there.
I was just wondering if they had any earnest and showed any interest. If they would have come earlier, it would have given us a little glimpse of interest or not. Again, I know they're working on maybe still a plan for a plant of their own, but.
Well, let me go on record also and say that I cannot allow us to ever do this type of project again, this proposal again. We will take any other city that comes for us to hook up to our facility, will negotiate with us from day one and be in multiple meetings from day one. We will never do the negotiating with ourselves like we did before. I'm not going to go into why that happened or how it happened, but we're not going to allow that again. If any city wants to come to us now and then, Bethel, you will come, negotiate with us from day one, have work sessions with us, work out the details, so we'll be farther along is what you're stating. So I just want to go on record and state that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We worked a long time on this. We put a lot of effort into it, but we were only negotiating with ourselves, so it made it more difficult. And having two parties negotiating makes it a lot easier when you get the final results a lot quicker and you get the end result a lot quicker. So thank you.
Sorry to disrupt, Mayor.
Okay, no problem. Well, you open up discussion on both sessions. Mrs. Hudvig.
So, are we anticipating that they're going to agree with this, or are we anticipating that they're going to say there's things in there that they don't like, they want to change, and then again, is that going to fall on us to make those changes, or are we going to require them to do some legwork on this?
I would like to see them do some legwork, and I'm sure they're going to want to tweak it. There's going to be some concerns they're going to have, and we're going to be open to it. The deal has to work for both parties. I've said all along, it has to be a mutually beneficial agreement with both sides. If it comes down to what they ask for, we can't do, then we can't do it. On the other hand, I think it's a reasonable, the pricing and everything else that goes, but the affluence and the disposal are big problems. And again, hot loads are something we have to be concerned about. We're not going to, I don't want to get to a situation where it costs more for them to hook to us, it's going to cost our taxpayers, tax rate users, our rate users rather, to pay more to have them hook onto our system. So it's got to be, once again, mutually beneficial to both sides. So do I think this, would I say to you, if you send this to them tomorrow, would it be approved right away? Most likely not. It will be tweaked on both sides, it'll have to be tweaked on both sides and workable, amenable on both sides to me. That's the best way I can tell. Okay? Rob, you have anything to say?
I just hope that Oak Grove moves forward with this, and I would really like to see that if they come in with tweaks, explaining to us in the city of St. Francis how that benefits our residents. So that's my biggest goal when I read this packet about how we want to safeguard our residents, but we also want to provide a great service to Oak Grove. It looks pretty, cut and dried, but if they want to tweak it, please bring the information back to us on why that is you want to tweak it, so we can better understand it.
Right, right. Joe, you anything to say?
Well, I thank Joe and Paul for putting it together, I think, and, Craig?
Was Craig too on, were you? Well, I got to give you acknowledgement too, I'm sorry I did not, yes, Craig too, from Hawkinson, thank you.
Well, thank you first of all, yeah, and I look forward to hopefully, working it out and working through whatever things are so through, and look forward to hearing back from them what they think of it.
I want to also tell you that there was one concern to our work session, and while resting that you're here, there was one concern by your former mayor that someday the NPCA, the Pollution Control Agency, may take the discharge point away. We discharge in the Seeley Brook right now. We have a voicemail from Corey Matheson from the NPCA that said in his boss's time of 30 years, they've never taken a discharge point away. I can only tell you that the water we put in the Seeley Brook is actually cleaner than the water in the Seeley Brook by nature. So I can't see them taking that discharge point away. The NPCA is pro-regionalization, as the Met Council is. Regionalization is good for cost factors, for staff, as such as staff and chemicals and that, and for biosolid disposal. So it really is a good thing to do. I hope your council sees it. And like I say, again, there's going to be some things in there I'm sure you're going to want to tweak and all that. And as Rob mentioned, come and talk to us about it. Don't hold it off. Your decision has to be made by February, I understand, and moving forward. I don't know why any city would want to take on the whole cost of construction and dealing with this wastewater treatment facility when you don't have to. But it's going to be up to your city. But I just want to say again, that discharge factor should not be a factor when in fact we have cleaner water after our processing. Once our wastewater is processed, our water is cleaner than what the Seeley Brook does by nature itself. So I can't see NPCA, and according to them, taking that discharge point away from us. So I just wanted to get that on record for you. So, any other further discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just one clarification on the biosolids.
Yes.
That would be taken care of here with St. Francis as part of their annual cleaning of biosolids.
On the ponds.
The wastewater you take from Oak Grove,
Right.
the biosolids will be taken care of by St. Francis.
Right, for the ponds only, not
Correct.
the West Lake George is a separate entity.
Right.
So that would be a separate cost on them.
Yes.
Okay, but as far as the pond system, that's part of the process.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I also want to just close with the council here. I can tell you that the former council members and this council here would like to see this regionalization start, as I mentioned before. So having Oak Grove on board, we hope will do a domino effect and bring other cities into motion. I know that I talked to the mayor over now and then, and they're talking about future commercial city sewer water, which right now they're septic as well, so that would be another possibility of them hooking up to us. So hopefully this will start the wheels. Hopefully it will also open up other doors to being more of a sister city listing with Oak Grove. I know there's been some barriers in the past, but we'd like to see those doors open. So we're very workable to a degree here, but again, it has to be mutually beneficial so it doesn't burden our residents at all. On that, barring any further discussion, do I have a motion tonight to the wastewater agreement, the ponds development in Oak Grove? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that.
Mr. Newmeyer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Ludwig makes that second. Any further discussion? Barring any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Also, I want to congratulate Western Wolf for getting on the council and going to be sworn in, so hopefully things will change there. I want to appreciate that very much. And I'm looking for new momentum on both sides. It takes two to tango, and hopefully we can tango. So thank you once again. Say it, Ramsey. Anyways, I'm meeting over the public second. Do we have anybody?
Yes, Clean Siebert.
State your name and address, please.
Hi, Colleen Siebert, 12212 129th Avenue Northwest. Mr. Mayor, Council, I have a question with regards to the agreement between St. Francis and Oak Grove with regards to their septic or their discharge and their effluents. If we go into an agreement like this and go into regionalization, have we done our due diligence with regard to the what ifs? What if we reach our limits within our system, then what? Do we then expose our citizens of St. Francis to increase the size of that facility at some point in the future? Or do we have an out with them where we say, we've grown enough, we need to have the space ourselves for our own affluent, and we need to back out of this agreement? Has that been put into this agreement?
Well, let me first explain to you that our plant size can handle 3,090 hookups. At present, we're only using 1,687 hookups.
Okay.
So we built it for the 1,500 core and then another 1,590 on top of that. So actually, Oak Grove won't dent us at all, because we're only talking about 222 more hookups. We have enough for our future development and works right now and that. It would be quite a long time before we'd be thinking about expanding that plant, but that's a very good question. And we are taking that into consideration.
Excellent.
But once they join our system, they're part of that expansion too.
Great.
So the cost gets, they share the cost with us as they become a rate user and the user of our system, they become part of that system.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No.
Okay, let's see, then we'll move on to reports, department reports. I don't think we have any, do we? Okay. Council member reports. I think I'll start with you,
Well, I would like to thank Sarah and Kevin for getting elected and becoming city council. I'd like to also, in 2 weeks, we're going to have discussion and hopefully a bid for animal control. So I invite all the residents in St. Francis, if you want to hear your concerns heard, please come to that meeting.
The 22nd.
22nd.
Tuesday, the 22nd.
Tuesday, the 22nd. That's pretty much all I hope to work with Oak Grove in this sewer agreement. So that's all I have for my report.
Joe?
Well, I had a chance to go to Wedding with Cops with Chief Schwager and Officer Hearn. Kind of spearhead that. That was a cool experience. I don't remember the exact date, but it was cool. Really good community involvement. I like to see the police out there get involved in the community. I think we need more of that throughout the country in general. And having that interaction is always a good thing. Other than that, I don't have much.
All right, Kevin?
I really don't have any other than I want to thank you, the citizens of St. Francis, for allowing me this opportunity. I hope to meet and exceed expectations. And it's not about us sitting here, it's about the city itself. And you need to be involved, as the mayor says time and time again. Come join us, come talk about it, make some noise, but be respectful, be polite, and get educated. And we're just people just like you guys, but you've given us the opportunity to serve, and I'm very grateful.
Sarah?
I too want to thank all the residents for giving me this opportunity. I look forward to working with you. Please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to meet you. I'm happy to talk to you over the phone, email, whatever works best for you. I did just want to let people know that per our ordinances and such, I am no longer on the EDA. It only allows for 2 council members to be on, and so I am not on the EDA anymore, but I will still be attending some of their meetings, and I'm just really looking forward to working with everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, I just changed appointments and I bumped her, so I'm on EDA. And I also want to commend the chief and Officer Hearns for the job with winning. I was there myself, and excellent program. Those are important. Those little things are big things, huge, and that was a big thing. So enjoyed my time there. With the people, with talking to the residents and the children, that I like to enjoy that a lot. I want to say to you on this MnDOT deal here, again, be patient. MnDOT was talking to us all along. We've been talking about this for over 2 years. This accident boosted up, obviously. I know that Michelle Benson, the senator, has been talked about coming, along with Speaker Dowd, along with Matt Look and all that, and I hope they will continue to be involved, as we will be. But I've said this all along at a rally, and I've said this And my concern here, as I said earlier tonight, it isn't about the money anymore, it's about what's right here. And we need to make the correction here. We're growing, and the effects you can see, we see it every day. They're just not seeing it like we are, but they're getting open-minded about it. And the fact that they changed it from 2025 down to 2021 is a big step for government. That's huge, by the way, when you think about it. So I learned something over time here and going to my second term here. As I stated in my first term walking around and campaigning, one of the things that frustrates me the most is how slow government works. I can never get past that because I'm not a career politician, but I can say to you that you got to be patient, knowing that you may not see the work that's being done here, but I can tell you staff and this council does a lot of work that you don't know about, but we are working on all these things, and I'm controlling all this stuff. Our decisions are based on what's best for the majority of our residents. So as I stated before, about distortion of facts on social media, as we've gone through it down to control and seen how that's played out and all that. It doesn't matter if someone comes on social media who lives in Princeton, which we've had that. We've had someone come in who lives in East Bethel and all that. I'll listen to you, but our concerns are the people who live in St. Francis. We don't deal with people who live in other cities. They have their own issues. We don't tell them how to run their city. They shouldn't tell us how to run our cities. Our only concern here is how to make our residents, their life better, and that's who we serve. And I can't emphasize that enough. And also I want to say about the corridor, the safety of our residents and our children are priority one for us. So that Pedersen will be the priority one start, but I believe in my own thoughts anyways, and things I'll bring up at the meetings is, it will most likely be a combination of things, multiple stoplights, speed reduction, enforcement, education, whatever. It's not going to be one $64,000 answer to the question that's going to get done. It's not going to happen that easy. But the fact that they're talking, I just don't want people to blame MnDOT for the lack of attention to it, because it was Melissa Barnes who told me about doing a joint study. It was summertime, and she also told me to apply for any grant money you can see out there, whether you get it or not, always apply, which we have, and we will continue to do. So I can just say to you, their hands are tied also by policies of the state government and counties and that too. So it's a process. Is it frustrating at times? Yeah, it's like taking a shower with a raincoat. You cannot get wet. It's pathetic. But that's how government works. So we have to work with the process the best way we can and keep it moving. And with your involvement, that will help a lot. I mean, in other words, I don't want this fire or flame to burn out, because out of sight, out of mind is what happens. The more involved you are and the more input you can give to us and represent you and your ideas and all that is going to make it much better in the whole picture in the long run. So I want to tell you again, as far as, like I say, a perfect example would be on the corner of First Street and Ambassador, where we took the church down and put up a sign that says clearing the way for future retail development of First Street. That was done by residents in the St. Francis Forward Plan. We are listening to what you told us, and we're going to try to implement that. Yes, as I said when I campaigned, we're going to try to work to see if a CVS or a Walgreens or some retail shops. I can't tell you for sure that's going to happen, but I'm going to tell you we're going to put feelers out everywhere to make that happen if we can. The one thing I can emphasize and tell you about, and I talked this with our community development director, the drugstore would be a great idea, but they all have drive-throughs, and drive-throughs are on those two roads, First Street and Ambassador, are county roads. So it's up to them if they're going to give us permission to access those roadways. So what we want and what they'll allow us to do are two different ballgames. We have state roads. The whole thing in this thing is between state roads and county roads and school district and everything else. This is a hodgepodge. It's a challenge. I'll put it like this. Very much of a challenge. But this council and the past council and this new council here will continue working for you. We're open, transparent, accountable, and as mentioned earlier, bring us your thoughts and concerns. Let us dive into it. We will look into it, give you full due diligence. And at the end of the day, we may not be able to give you the answer you want to hear, but we will give you a truthful, researched answer. That is our job. That's what you put us here for, and that's what we will continue doing. We've done that in the last 2 years and proven ourselves, and we will continue doing that as long as I'm mayor, as long as these council members sit on this council. I can't emphasize that enough, that we're not ignoring anything you bring to our attention. I do get frustrated with sometimes when I see something that could be easily settled. It has to take a longer process, but that's the way things are. So, like the rate reduction that took over 2 months to put into effect, that we voted on right away, took a first reading and a second reading and a third-day publication, which kind of frustrated all of us very much. But we got it. That was the key. And we want to continue doing that. So once again, I can only hope that Oak Grove comes on board with us, that it opens up a whole wide door of communication and workability in the future here. I think there's some new members that are going to help make that happen on your end, on Oak Grove's end, and I know that thought and mindset's already on our end. So it's just a matter of communication is a big deal. So I hope that will continue happening. We had that meeting, as Rob mentioned earlier, on the 22nd because the holiday was the 21st. Input from people on the ACO. Give us your input. You know our email addresses. As mentioned, I have one rule at meetings and communicating with us: common respect, common courtesy, no anger. Leave it at the door. Talk to us. Let us work with them. That's a big deal. So I can say to you that if you have anything to say to you, come to that meeting that day. Let us know what your concerns are, and hopefully we'll make a decision that you can live with and we can live with. I'm sorry that it's taken this long, but social media blew it out of proportion and forced us to do it in a situation where we had multiple interviews, we had inspections, and we had references we had to check. So it took some time. I want to commend staff on the time that helped us on that, the chief and everybody. That was something I know we didn't all want to do, but we did it, and hopefully will come to fruition. We can deal with it and move on. Other than that, I can say to you, it's still winter, dark out there. Be careful when you're crossing streets. Be open-minded. And the kids crossing that intersection right now, when you push that crosswalk button, still wait for the cars to stop. Just don't assume they're going to stop. Wait till they stop and you cross the roads. And I want to commend the chief in that, and the police in that. You're coming to full strength coming up here. Please, let's keep on top of on that highway. Let's keep on any safety we can get out there. People speeding, all that, it's a problem everywhere. I see it in every state, just not ours, and on multiple roads. So whatever we can do, your presence is a big deal, huge. I don't think I have anything else to say there. Any other business that we have to do here? No? No business? Okay. I want to welcome Sarah and Kevin once again.
Thank you.
We have a lot more work to do here. Trust me, this is not just the end of one phase into another phase. We have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things coming up here that I can't talk about right now. I'm only talking about things until I get them more signed, sealed, delivered, so I can come here and tell you exactly what's going on here. But I will tell you that as things progress and we get things more final, I will be bringing up our progress and promoting our as far as our growth and stuff like that coming to fruition. And read my newsletters. Read my portion of newsletters. It's my way of letting you know what's going on, and I put everything in there. I actually write those, to be honest with you. There's no form letter. I actually write those. My part of it anyway. So I know the departments do too, by the way. But in that mayor thing, I don't follow a form. I actually fill it out and tell you what I can do, what the city council's doing, what I'm doing, and everything else that's going on. So keep in touch with us, and we'll keep in touch with you. On that, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I want to congratulate again the two new members and myself, and congratulate the public above all for keeping this momentum going. It was up to you, and you made it happen. So thank you once again. I will adjourn this meeting at 7:02. Thank you.